What is going on, guys? We are back at it with another master portfolio tracker. I honestly thought my last one was the best that it could get, but that one, this blows it out of the water compared to my old one. This is the dark theme portfolio tracker. Everyone turns on dark theme for all of their brokerage accounts, so I figured why not make a portfolio tracker in Google Sheets that is also dark themed. Now, there are a lot of updates in this portfolio tracker. You could easily see just from the dashboard, not only do we have all the major indexes, we have the volatility index, we have their lines, their line charts. We have, this wasn't the easiest thing to figure out, but we have my biggest gainer and biggest loser for the day. You can see that, oh look, there's Ethereum. We got Ethereum and Bitcoin in this. We have right here market close. When the market is open, this will say market open. And guys, I think the coolest part of this all, because I have a lot of international traders and you guys all rock, we now have a conversion chart. So we could convert all of our currency, which will change all the currency on the dashboard. Everything's dynamic here. So if you are in Europe and you're buying some US stocks, you need it converted over to your currency. So then you can see exactly what it's worth in your money, so you don't have to try to figure out what it is manually. Again, everything is automatic. Everything updates. I'm going to walk you through step by step exactly how to make this down to a T. It is going to be a long video. It is going to be very involved. We have some code that we need to make in the script editor. Oh yeah, guys. And another thing this also counts splits. Let's see, I owned Apple. Where is it? Look at this, split. When Apple had its 4-to-1 split, I've owned Apple since 2017, all the way back up here. This says 2019, but that's because I transferred between brokerage accounts. So I actually bought this back in 2017 for dollar cost average of $159, but it had a 4-to-1 split. So instead of going back and having to change all of my entries, the code will actually update that as well. So you can see that the split is in there. And you can see right here, now my purchase price is down to 91. The price is 134. Everything is accounted for, guys. Now, before we dive into this video, because it is going to be very long, if you don't have the time to build this out, you just rather have it right away, it is in my Patreon. You guys can check out my Patreon. Every single portfolio tracker I make is uploaded to my Patreon, so you guys could download it for yourself. And guys, before we jump onto this video, please smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, and drop those comments. If you have any questions or if you have any ideas that we could add to this, throw that in the comments so the YouTube algo could boost this so everyone could see this, because I don't want this information being hidden beneath a bunch of other portfolio tracker videos, because there's some awesome stuff in here, guys. All right, guys, just to show you how this works. So let's add a date. Let's say I bought some more Apple. Okay, so we're going to say Apple, put a price in of, well, quantity, we'll say I bought, let's make it big. We'll say I bought 100 shares worth of Apple at $200. So that's going to update. It's going to be $20,000. This is just so you can see how everything's dynamic. If we go to positions, you can see here's Apple right here. Oh, well, I guess 200 would be too much because its current price is $134. So instead of 200, we'll say 100. So we'll do that, 100. So there we go. You can see right here, this updates. Now my purchase is 97. I have 135 shares now instead of only 35. And if we go to the dashboard, you can see Apple is now really high. You can see that Apple is the biggest position that I have. You could also see that this updated. Look at this. My cash value is down to almost nothing. So you can see right there, my cash value is only $500 left over. So everything is completely dynamic here, guys. And just to show you how the conversion works, let's throw in a foreign stock here. So I'm going to delete all of this. And we're going to put in, how about FRA, VOW, that's Volkswagen. We'll say buy. We'll say I bought 10 shares for $250. So if we do that, now I bought it for $250, but you can see right here, euros. Okay, so even though I bought it for a total of 2,500, right here converts it to USDs. So this would be 2,500 euros I'm buying, but it's showing me how much I bought in dollars, which would be 2,987 because the euro is a little bit more than a dollar. If we go over to conversion now, and you can see all of this is USD except right here. Here's our euro. We go up here, we could change it to euro. So now it's going to change everything over to euros. You can even see up here, look, purchase in euros, purchase in price in euros, change in euros. Go back to history, it would change this. So if we're in euros and I only put $2,500 in euros, now you can see this is different. And then all of the stuff in the US dollar changed. So it flip-flopped. And then if we go to the dashboard, all of this is also in euros now as well. So this would be a great way for you to track all of your stocks, especially if you have international stocks. This is a great way to track them in your own currency. So we'll go back and change this to USD, and then everything will update. And whatever you want to do, whatever type of currency you're using, this will work for it. All right, guys, so the very first thing we need to do here is write out the code because the code is lengthy. And what code are we writing out? Well, it is where it transfers all of the data in history. It'll spit it out into the positions tab right here. This is a custom function, the my positions function. We have to create this function. It will then spit out all of the stocks we have with their current share price and their current purchase price. It'll account for shares that you have sold and then rebought. All of it will be dynamic. All of it will update. That is the first thing we need to do is open up a Google Sheets, brand new Google Sheets, which is not Excel. Some of you people have Google Sheets and Excel confused. Sheets is something on Google. You go to the little three dots, the Google apps, and you look for Sheets. Click on that. And then you click new. Luckily, this is free. It's not like you have to pay like Excel. This is all completely free to use, which is great. So this is what we're gonna wanna do. We're gonna wanna create two tabs. The first one is going to be history. And then the second one is going to be positions. We're gonna have more tabs like the dashboard and the currency conversion later. But let's jump over to history. And this is like my old portfolio tracker. For those of you who have watched that one before, we're going to do transactions. We're going to do date, security, action, quantity, and price. So far, everything is looking very similar to the old tracker. But this, we're about to do the code, and the code is nothing like the old tracker. It's a lot more advanced. There's a lot more moving parts to it. Just got to follow along the video and try the best that you possibly can with getting everything right. No syntax errors or any of that. But trust me, guys, you could do it. It is possible. Don't get discouraged with the length. All right. You just got to follow it nice and easily. What I'm actually doing here, which I want you guys to do, is we want to make sure we have everything right with the code. And how are we going to do that? Well, we have to debug the code, or at least once the code is up and running, we want to make sure everything is working how it's supposed to. So what I'm doing here is just kind of having some fake trades. So before you enter your entire trade history into this, I'd recommend you do something like this if you want to copy exactly what I'm doing. And this is just, we're going to be testing the code with this. And then after we know that the code works, we can then put in our actual stuff. Drip. Then we got buy, dividend, and buy. Jump over to quantity. We're going to say 1, 10, 5, 2. Here's for the split, 2:1. So we're pretending it's a 2-for-1 split. Let me just fill out the rest of this. And when the code is done, I'll kind of explain exactly why we're using this. This is just kind of testing everything that we have in the code, which would be not only putting deposit of money in, buying, seeing how the split works, seeing how selling works, then rebuying that sell, and making sure that both the drip and the dividend works as well. All right, so if you guys want to pause the video and just kind of copy what I have right here, so then you could test your code once we have it complete, do that now. But we're going to jump over to the code because this is going to be a decent chunk of the video, but I'm going to try to make it as quickly as possible. So you're going to go to Tools, and you want to go to Script Editor right here. Just going to click on that. It's going to open up something that looks like this. So you can name this whatever you want. So you go up here, we can name this, I'm going to name it Think Stocks Function. Or I guess it would be more of a code because there are going to be multiple functions. So Think Stocks Code. So we'll rename that. You can even go as far as renaming this if you want. So if you click on this, you can rename code.gs to whatever else. We're just going to keep it as code.gs. I'm actually going to delete all of that, and we're going to start with function. Make sure you have function spelt right. So function, generate trade, open parentheses, stock quant, comma, stock price, comma, action. Go on the outside of those parentheses, hit the squiggly bracket, hit enter, do return. I'm going to do space, a second squiggly bracket, hit enter. We're going to have shares, colon, stock, quant, comma, price, colon, stock price, comma, action, colon, action. And then we want to drop down one and hit the semicolon, and that is our first function. Pretty easy, only 7 lines. If you want to pause the video, make sure everything is spelt right here. And by everything, I mean all the syntax needs to be exactly the same. Function should be blue. You don't want to have a capital F. It's case sensitive. So see how mine's lowercase? Return is also lowercase, but it's also blue. And there's no squiggly lines underneath. If you have something spelt wrong, like say function, right? If I'm missing the C, you see how that has the red squiggly line? That means I have something wrong. So the code will try to help out with what's wrong, but it's about to get a little bit more complex and the code may not catch what you're doing wrong. But this is the first function. We are done with it, nice and easy. The next function is the monster. I broke it down into 8 separate parts to make it easier to follow. So we're just going to take it one section at a time. But here we go. I'm going to go down to line 10. Or you know what? We'll go down even further. We'll go down to line 20 just to really like separate everything. And we're going to do 3 lines. The first part is going to be 3 lines. So it's going to be function because we're creating a new function. So we got function, generate FIFO. So we want to make sure the F is capitalized. And on top of that, this is going to be the FIFO function. So if you guys watched my other video, my other master portfolio tracker that was 1 hour and 6 minutes long, some of you have realized there was a problem when it came to selling a stock, then buying that same stock later on. It averaged the price from that previous buy that you've already sold. And that's wrong. You don't want that. That's because you want something that is first in, first out. So if you were to sell a stock, say you have a stock for, let's say, and don't write this. This is just me showing you the example. You have a stock, you buy Apple, right? 1 share of Apple for $100. Then you sell 1 share of Apple for say $150. Okay? So this is a buy, and then this is a sell. In case for you non-coders are wondering what these slashes are, these slashes means that I don't want this to be a code, I want to write something. So I can keep these slashes in here and the code won't read this. So fun little tip. But we buy 1 stock, then, well, we buy 1 apple, we sell 1 apple, and then let's say a couple months later, we want to buy Apple again. So we buy 1 share of Apple again. This time it's for $200. So in our portfolio, it should say we own 1 share of Apple with our dollar cost average of $200. The problem with the old code is it would account for this old Apple up here. So instead, our dollar cost average would be 150 because 200 and 100, you get an average of 150. So that's wrong. So what Generate FIFO does, this FIFO code that we're making, it will do first in, first out. So it will know, oh, okay, if we sold Apple, then we just want to forget these entries. We want to delete them, and then it'll actually have the right one. So that's what this function is doing. So here we go. We got function generate FIFO, security, action, quantity, price, squiggly bracket, hit enter, do let portfolio equal new map. So we want to create a map, open parenthesis, close parenthesis, hit the semicolon, hit enter. Then we want for var I, not 1, I equals 0, semicolon, space, I again, less than security, make sure security spelt right, dot length, make sure length is spelt right, semicolon, I plus plus. Again, for you non-coders out there, this is a very, very popular function that a lot of coders will use. And then last, we want to open another squiggly bracket and hit enter. So this is our first section is done out of this long function. This generate FIFO is going to be 8 parts. This is part 1 done. If you want to pause the video, make sure everything is right. Do that now. Okay, I'm going to move on to the second part of this function. But one thing that I want you guys to see is this squiggly line is a little too indented. You could delete them and then make one there, hit enter, and then make another one. Just so it's that's what you want. You see how this one is in line with this and this one's indented. That's kind of what we want here. Well, that's exactly what we want. What I had would kind of mess us up down the road. So now that we have that, we're going to move on to the next portion. We're going to hit enter a couple of times. And it's going to be 5 lets. So these are going to be let formulas. So we got let ticker equal security I dot to string open and close parenthesis semicolon, hit enter. Then we got our next let action equal actions I dot to string again. And guys, when this pops up right here, if you just hit enter, it'll autofill it for you. It's also a good way to prevent spelling errors down the line. Now we're moving on to our third let stock quant equals number quantity square bracket I, another semicolon, hit enter. Our fourth let stock price equals number open parentheses price open square bracket I, and then we want to be on the outside of our parentheses semicolon, hit enter. Our last let trade equal generate trade. This is how we're bringing our first function into our second function. So open parentheses, stock quant, stock price, action, and semicolon. Then we can hit enter again, and we'll hit it a couple of times. Actually, we'll hit it a lot of times so we can move everything down. So this is the next part. Pause the video, make sure that this is completely right. You don't have any kind of spelling errors or syntax errors. Make sure all of the let is 2 lines over. You see how we have this line and then we have this line. So the let is all right here, which is what we want. And once that is good, now what you want to do is go back up to the squiggly line, and you're going to hit enter from there. If we were down here by 47, or if we just click randomly, you see how now we're like here, and if we start typing this, it breaks that line. We don't want that. That could mess us up. So go to the squiggly line, then hit enter, not squiggly, the semicolon. You guys know what I meant. Hit enter a couple of times. So now we're properly indented. And now we are moving on to part 3 of the FIFO function. So we want if action equals by, make sure your B is capitalized. On the outside of that and hit these 2 lines. Where do you find these on the keyboard? It's to the right of your squiggly bracket and square bracket, if you have a similar keyboard to mine. Then we want action dot to upper case, open and close parenthesis, equals. Then we want drip, open squiggly bracket, hit enter. Let active trades, make sure everything's spelt right, equal portfolio dot get ticker semicolon, hit enter. Now we're doing if. So if active trades equals null, go on the outside of our parenthesis, do another squiggly bracket, hit enter, portfolio dot set, open parentheses, ticker, comma, square bracket. In the square bracket, we're going to write trade, go on the outside, do another squiggly, not squiggly, a semicolon. We're going to hit the down arrow. Then we're going to hit space, do else, hit space, then open the squiggly bracket, then hit enter. And then the last one for this part is going to be active trades dot push, open parentheses, trade, go on the outside and hit that semicolon. And guys, that is part 3 of the FIFO function. We have 5 more parts. See, it's not that bad. This is pretty easy. Again, pause, make sure everything is spelt right, make sure everything looks the same as mine, so we're not going to run into any problems when we are going to execute the function. All right, so now that we know all that is done, we're going to hit enter. I'm going to actually hit it a couple more times because this is going to be our split function. So what do we have up here? Well, if you noticed, we're tying in the generate trade function. So this function is tied into this now. We're kind of defining everything here and how we want our function to work. Like you can notice security, actions, quantity, and price. So what we see on the spreadsheet, security, action, quantity, price. And we're saying, hey, if the action is buy or drip, this is what we want it to do. So now I'm going to say, hey, if the action is split, we're going to want to account for that. So this is what we want. If, open parentheses, action dot to uppercase, open and close parenthesis, equal, split, and notice how split is all capitalized. That's what you want. Go on the outside of that parenthesis. We want another squiggly bracket, hit enter, let active trades equal portfolio dot get, open parenthesis, ticker, go on the outside, and then we want to hit our semicolon, hit enter, let ratio equal quantity, square bracket, I, go on the outside, dot to string, open and close parenthesis, dot split, open parenthesis, we want double quotation, colon, go on the outside, semicolon, hit enter. Now this is line 4. We want active trades equals active trades dot map. Now this is going to be a little confusing, so make sure you follow along. We're going to do 2 parentheses that we're going to open. We're going to write trade. Then we're going to go on the outside of one parenthesis, but not both. Hit space, then we're going to do equals, greater than sign. Then we're going to hit the open squiggly bracket, hit enter. And now we're going to want to do 4 trades. We're going to have trade.share, trade.price, trade.share, and trade.price. And it's going to be multiplying or dividing depending on our ratio. You'll see what I mean in a second. So we want trade.shares equals trade.shares multiplied by ratio, square bracket 0. Go on the outside of the square bracket, we're going to hit semicolon, hit enter. Then we want trade.price equals trade.price. Then we want to divide that by ratio, square bracket 0. Go on the outside, and then we want semicolon. So that's 2 of the 4. Now we want trade.shares again equals trade.shares multiply that by ratio, square bracket 1, go on the outside and hit our semicolon, and then the last trade.price equals trade.price divided by ratio, square bracket 1, go on the outside, semicolon. Don't hit enter. Instead, hit the down arrow. So now we're on this one, right after the parenthesis, and then we want semicolon. So you can hit that, then you can go down, and then you can hit enter a couple of times. So now, time to pause again. Make sure this is completely right. And that is, look at that, 1, 2, 3, 4. We are halfway done with this hard function, which is turning out to really not be that hard when we break it up like this. All right, so now the next part, I think this is the hardest part, and this is the sell action. So what do we have right now? We have our buy, and we have drip, which is pretty easy and straightforward. We have our split, which is a little complicated here. But now our last action is going to be sell. And the sell has a lot of parts, and we're actually going to break it down into 3 separate parts. But this first part is the hardest, so make sure to follow along and have everything right. I'm on line 54 right after my squiggly bracket. Then I'm going to hit enter a couple of times. And now we're going to do if action equals sell. Then you want to be on the outside of that parenthesis, hit squiggly bracket, hit enter, let space active trades equal portfolio.get ticker, go on the outside, we want that semicolon, hit enter, let precision, make sure precision is spelt right, equal 5, semicolon, hit enter, if, open parentheses, active trades, exclamation point equals, that stands for if it doesn't equal, null, go on the outside, hit our squiggly brackets, hit enter. Then we want let So it's saying if our trades don't equal null, if our active trades don't equal null, let shares to sell equal number, open parenthesis, number, open parenthesis, trade dot shares, go on the outside of the first parenthesis, but not the second, dot to fixed, open parenthesis again, precision, go on the outside of our parentheses, hit our semicolon, hit enter, while space shares to sell is greater than 0. Then we want another squiggly bracket, hit enter. Shares to sell equals number again. Then we want shares to sell dot to fixed, open parentheses. Oh, you know what? I just noticed we didn't go on the outside of that parenthesis. So when we have shares to sell, go on the outside of that parenthesis. Then we want the to fixed. Then we want to open parentheses and do precision. Make sure it's spelt right. Then we go on outside of both those parentheses, hit that comma, not comma, hit that semicolon, hit enter. And now we want if active trades dot length is greater than 0. Go on the outside, do another squiggly bracket. We're going to hit enter. Let item to sell equal active trades square bracket 0, not O, not 9. There we go, 0, semicolon, enter. Item to sell dot shares equals number, then number again, then open our parentheses. We want item to sell dot shares, go on the outside of one parenthesis, dot to fixed, open our parentheses, precision, do our semicolon, hit enter. If item to sell, I swear guys, we're almost done with this one, shares equals, not plus plus, equals, shares to sell, squiggly bracket, hit enter, shares to sell equals 0, semicolon, hit enter, active trades dot splice 1 comma, not period, comma 0, 1 comma 0, semicolon. Thank God that is over. That is now what? Part 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Guys, I think we're more than halfway done here. This was the hardest one. If you stuck through the video watching that, then the rest should be a cakewalk. Honestly, this is the hardest one right here. Just because there's a lot of repetition, you might miss something. So definitely pause the video, definitely check, and definitely smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, guys. All right, guys, now it's time for the easy stuff. Make sure you're on the outside of this squiggly bracket. And once we're done with the code, we don't have to go back to this ever again. It's one and done. Then we can move on to the fun stuff and making our portfolio tracker look nice. Hit enter. We'll do it a couple of times just to space out, kind of get rid of that, that code up there. Then what we want to do is else if item to sell dot shares is less than shares to sell. Guys, if you haven't noticed by now, I mean, it's kind of like straightforward. If you read this and try to read it like in English, what we're actually saying here is, hey, if our active trade is null, then this is what we want. And it's kind of going like the order of operation of, hey, do we have shares? Is it greater than 0? If it's not, then what do we want to do? This precision is, do we have a fractional share? And now it's saying, hey, if none of these criteria are met, then we'll drop down to this part. I have another video that explains this code besides the split, because I didn't have the split in that code, but it explains everything else. You guys could check that out if you want to learn more about what's going on here. But this video is going to be long enough, so that's why I really didn't have time to just kind of explain everything. So we want shares to sell minus equals, so minus equals item to sell dot shares semicolon, hit enter, active trades dot splice 0, 1 semicolon. That part is done. So part 6 is complete. Guys, we have 2 more parts of this long function. So now that we are on the outside of this squiggly bracket, we're going to hit enter a couple times. We're going to do else semicolon, not semicolon, squiggly bracket, hit enter, item to sell dot shares minus equals shares to sell semicolon, hit enter, shares to sell equals 0 semicolon. Then we want to go 1. That part's done. See that? It's getting easier and easier. 1, 2, 3. Hit enter a couple of times. Now the last part of this function is going to be if active trades dot length. Oh, make sure length isn't capitalized. Length equals 0. Go on the outside. Hit the squiggly bracket, hit enter, portfolio dot delete, open parentheses, ticker on the outside, hit our semicolon, and then we want to be 1, 2, 3, and actually 4. So we could delete some of these lines here. So we could bring this all the way back up. Okay, there we go. And I'm just going to go like this to move everything down. Okay, great. So look at this. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going all descending down. So what we want to be is 1, 2, 3, 4. Hit enter. Return portfolio. Semicolon, boom. That is the second function done. Thank God. Again, guys, check, I guess, these last 3 parts because I kind of blew through them quickly. Make sure everything is right here. You have no syntax or no spelling errors whatsoever. And guys, I actually had an error right here. I didn't mean to have a /. I meant to have a period. There's no guarantee that I have everything right here too. Trying the best as possible to not have any kind of error, but we won't know until we actually try the function and make sure that everything actually works. But let's go on to part 3. The third function, it's nowhere near as hard as the second one, a little bit more difficult than the first one. It is only 3 parts, so it's not too bad. But we'll hit enter a lot just to kind of get rid of that. Here we go. All right. So what we want to do is we're creating another function. So function my positions, open parentheses, security, actions, quantity, and price. Go on the outside, do our squiggly bracket, hit enter. Let portfolio equal generate trade. I lied. We want generate FIFO. Open parentheses. Security. Actions, so plural. Quantity and price. Go on the outside, we want to hit our semicolon. We're going to hit enter a couple of times. Now we want let return array equal square bracket, open and close, semicolon, hit enter. Portfolio dot for each, open two parentheses, value, comma, key, go on the outside of one parenthesis, but not both, equals, greater than, we're going to hit a space, do a squiggly bracket, hit enter. Now we want three lets. So we got let shares equal 0, semicolon, let total cost equal 0, semicolon, and then let average or AVG price equal 0, semicolon, hit enter. Then we want map, not map, we want value dot map, open parenthesis, trade, space equals, greater than, another squiggly bracket, hit enter. Then we want shares plus equals trade dot shares, semicolon, space, total cost plus equals trade dot shares times, get rid of that B, whoops, times trade dot price, semicolon. We want to go on the outside of this one, hit semicolon, then we're going to hit enter a couple of times, pause, make sure that this is right. And guys, I do have one spelling error right here. Well, not spelling error, but syntax. Cost, well, the C should be capitalized. So after you check everything there, we're going to be right on the outside of these semicolons. We're going to hit enter. And now we are going to write, this is the next part, it's going to be average price, so AVG price equals total cost divided by shares, semicolon, hit enter, return array dot push, open parenthesis, open square bracket, key, comma, shares, comma, average price. On the outside of that, we are going to hit our semicolon, and then we can actually bring this up like that. Right here, we could also hit semicolon, and then in between the two, so in between this one and that one, we're going to do return space, return array, semicolon, and guys, that is it. Check to make sure that last part is right with no spelling errors whatsoever. Now this is the nerve-wracking part. After we have all of this, you can hit save. And now, if you want, you can hit run. And this is what you want to see. Execution started, execution completed. But we're not out of the woods yet. There still could be an error, and the only way to see if we have it right is we got to put in our function. So you could, at this point, if you have it saved, we could X out of this, okay? Go back to our spreadsheet. We can name this. I'm going to name it Dark Theme Master Portfolio Tracker. All right, after we name it, one thing I did realize, so right here, split has no price, so you get rid of that. You can do a dash if you want. And on top of that, right here for drip, I don't know where I got 5.5. I guess I was typing in fast. We'll say that the price was 55 is what I meant to say. And the reason why I'm saying 55 is if we're saying Apple was $100 here, and then it's split for a 2-for-1, that would cut the price in half. It would double our shares, but it would cut the price in half to 50. And then I'm just pretending that, you know, the stock went up 10%. So that's where I got that 55 from. And on top of that, NVIDIA, I'm going to want that to be not 55, but 550. So that's what we sold the 2 shares for. But again, we'll explain all of this in a second. Let's go to positions. Let's actually try to make sure everything works. Up here, we could type portfolio positions, hit enter. We want tickers, shares, and purchase. Because these are what we're going to be getting. These 3 things is what the function should, well, the code should get us. So we're going to hit equals, my positions, open parentheses. We're going to go to history. We're going to highlight all of this, hit comma, highlight action, hit comma, highlight quantity, hit comma, and highlight price. And then we're going to close the parentheses. So you can see right here, I have my positions, history exclamation point, B3 to B12, history exclamation point, C3 to C12, history exclamation point, D3 to D12, history exclamation point, E3 to E12. We're pulling security, action, quantity, and price. That's what we just did that entire code for. Hit enter. It's loading. Boom, there we go. Everything is right. This is what you should have. If you don't, something could be wrong with not only your code, but maybe you typed in the wrong function. It has to be equals my position. The P has to be capitalized. If the code doesn't have this spelt right, maybe you misspelt positions in the code, so you just have to go and change that. On top of that, you got to make sure that there's nothing in here that would throw it off. Like if we had, I think a letter may throw it off. So if we had a letter, you see that? That's not going to work. We get rid of the letter, then it does work, okay? On top of that, if you oversell, so watch, if we have NVIDIA or we'll say Target, instead of dividend, we'll change NVIDIA to sell, and we'll say 10. So we sold 10 NVIDIA, but we don't have 10 NVIDIA to sell. NVIDIA's gone. Sometimes it will break the code that way. So you got to be careful with that. But if everything's working and this is what you have, here's how we can check to make sure everything is proper. So we deposited $10,000 worth of cash. That's not going to affect our positions really. That's going to be for the dashboard. But Apple, we bought 10 shares. Then we had a 2-for-1 split. So now we should have 20 shares at the price of not 100, but the price of 50. And then you can see we had a drip. So we had something reinvest back into Apple, 0.1. So this is after our split. So technically we should have 20.1 shares and the price was 55. So if the price was 55 and our original Apple price was 50, right? Because this is after the split. So it should be 50 and some change. And that's what it is. It's 50 and some change. That's accounting for the dividend. You can see that it actually split down to 50. If we get rid of this split right here, watch this. Let's delete that row. Look at that. Now the price, the purchase price is up to 99.5 because it's saying that we got our dividend for 55. And our shares is only 10.1. Let's hit Control Z, bring the split back. 20 shares now, and the price is halved. So we know that works. Great. Now what about PayPal? PayPal was just a buy that I threw in there. But in NVIDIA, we had a buy. We bought 2 NVIDIA for 500. Then we sold both NVIDIA for 555. And then we bought NVIDIA again for 600. If we go to positions, look at that. NVIDIA, only 1 share for 600. So we know that also works. And then lastly, there's Target, got a dividend. So we have Target, dividend, only 1. So if we jump over to Target, we could see that that dividend for shares, it's not included because it's not a drip. And this shouldn't be 20. This should really be, say, 201. All right, so now that we know this all works, that our function works, we can start putting in our actual data. So this was just data to test. I'm going to delete this. I'm actually going to jump over here and just copy and paste what I actually have, because these are all of the positions that I have. Obviously, besides Volkswagen, I just did that for example, but we'll throw it in as well. I'm going to hit Control-Shift-V. So it puts everything in without a format. Now, guys, one thing that you need to understand is it needs to be exactly like this. If you just download a CSV or CVF, whatever it's called, from your brokerage account with all of your positions, if it's not in this format, it's not going to work. So you're going to have to make it into this format. It might be a little tedious, but once it's done, then you're good. And then you just need to slowly add as you buy more. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do, I'm actually going to click here. I'm going to click on C, right click. I'm going to go to data validation. And what we want to do is we want to enter all of the different drop downs. So we're going to go to list of items and we'll type in deposit. We'll type in buy, sell. We have interest. We have adjustment. We have split, dividend, drip. What else? We got split, dividend, drip, withdrawal. And I think that's everything. So I'm going to hit save here. And now it gives us a drop down. So we could change this to whatever we want. You can see actions also has the drop down, which I don't want. So we're actually going to click on action now, right click. We're going to go to data validation again and then remove it. And then we're good. So now this is all set up for me. You guys put in all of your entries. It has to be in date order. Now the code doesn't account for the date on the left here, but it has to be in a descending order where your earliest entry is at the top, and then as you go down, later entries happen, because that's how the code will read it. It'll go down the list. So if I bought Apple, or even better, if I bought CVS down here, up here, if I scroll all the way down, if I have that entry down here, it's going to mess everything up, because I then sold CVS somewhere over here. I don't know where, but I sold CVS somewhere. It won't account for that. Instead, it would read saying that I sold first, then I bought later, and that's not what I did. So keep that in mind. I'm going to go up here and drop this down like that. So now what we want to do is make this the dark theme color. And we're going to save these 2 rows right here, F and G. But if we go to H and go all the way over, we could delete all of these. We're not going to need them. So I'm going to go to delete H through Z. I'm saving these 2 because this is where our conversions are going to be. So up here, I'm going to merge this and I'll name this conversion. We'll keep it like that for now. We will have to do some more stuff up here when we have our conversion tab. So we're going to hold off on that. So this will be something we'll do later, but let's make this into the color that we want. So if we click up here, you could go to this and just kind of make it all black, but that's going to be too harsh on the eyes. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but anytime, see, look, this is way too harsh. Anytime you turn on dark theme for something, it's never truly black. It's like in dark gray, like a very dark gray. Maybe something like that. That might be a little too light, but just kind of mess around for what you like. Here, let's see. Maybe a little bit darker like that. That looks good. I like how that looks. We'll click up here. Instead of 10, we'll make this bigger. Let's try, how about 18? That looks better. We'll also make this a little bit bigger. Make this maybe 12. Yeah, 12 looks good. And then the last thing that I have before we move on, if we go over here, and then if you click on borders, go to white, we want it kind of thick like that. Throw a border in there just to kind of split the two. We could even have the border up here as well. There we go. And then for conversion, we can center this. So we'll do that. All right, now the last thing we're going to do here is actually, I'm going to click on this. I'm going to make sure everything's centered. All right, good. We're going to go over here to actions. I'm going to right click and we're going to do data validation. Not data validation. We already did that. We're going to do conditional formatting. And now with this, we could change, we're going to keep the color the same. So our nice dark theme color, but we're going to change the text depending on what it says. So we're going to go to if text is exactly deposit, then we're going to change it. And I'm going to change it to a nice bright blue and we'll make it bold as well. Add another rule. And then we will do buy. So obviously buy is going to be green. That green, if you think that green's a little too harsh, again, you can go to custom and you can mess around with the right kind of green that you want. Maybe something like that. Then we're going to hit add. We'll do cell. Obviously, cell is going to be red. Add. We'll do interest. Interest, I'll make maybe like that pinkish. Add rule. We'll do drip. I don't know what to make drip. I think I had it like an orange. Here we go. We'll do that orange. Add rule. I had dividend. We'll make dividend. I don't even know. How about like a blue like that? You know, you can just mess around with all the colors. I think that's good for now. That's pretty much most of the stuff. I'm missing maybe adjustment and split. So there's adjustments are white and the split is white. But you can make those colors whatever you want. I think it's kind of easy to see exactly what's going on here. So I could see exactly where my deposits are. If I want to see where drip is, oh, that's easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's just easier on the eyes to look at everything, see exactly where my cells are, because all one color is just way too difficult. But we're pretty much done with this tab for now. Actually, the very last thing we're going to do, which is very cool, is we're going to go and click on A. And what we want to do is up here where it says AA, we're going to name this. We're going to name it history date. Then we're going to go up here, name this history security. Hit enter. You know what? We didn't hit enter here. So that's what you have to do. If you do history, see, look, now history security is there. History date, hit enter, and then it logs it. Now we got history security. History, look at that. There's date and security. This is going to be history action. And this is going to help us when we're making our dashboard. And also when we're making our positions tab as well. There's going to be history quantity. Hit enter. Then we'll go over here. This would be history price. Hit enter. And actually, what I just remembered, we want to then hit one to the right. And we're going to want to move the border, which is kind of annoying. So we're going to turn the border off there, jump over here, throw the border right over there because we're missing one thing. Oops, and we want to get rid of this. We're missing total. So we want total. And what is total going to be? Well, total is going to be equals if error, open parenthesis, if, open parenthesis, is blank, open parenthesis. We're going to click on right over there, A3. Actually, you know what? We'll click on B3. Sometimes you guys are lazy and you don't put in the date. At least that's what I do sometimes. So we're going to do comma, quotation, quotation, comma. Then we're going to want ABS. So absolute, open parenthesis. We're going to want E, so right here, multiplied by D, close, 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 comma, quotation, dash, quotation, close, and then hit enter, and then yes, we will autofill. Now, some of you guys, and actually we'll probably see this, the code's not down here. So if you just want to drag this all the way down, so then the code is all the way down to the very last cell. And you guys may be asking, why do we have absolute and why are we saying if is blank when there's shortcuts? We could do shortcuts. This is just to make sure that no errors happen whatsoever. And then the if error is actually for the split. So if we go down to split, this is just going to show up as an error because you're trying to take this, which is not a number, and this, and you get an error message. So instead, it just gives a nice little dash. But now we are done with history. We'll come back when we do the conversion. Let's jump over to positions. So now right away, you may be thinking, oh, hold on. This doesn't look right because I have more than 6 stocks. And on top of that, if you guys listened to me in the beginning, I said I don't have CVS anymore. So what's going on here? Well, if you look up here, we have history B3 for B12. So it's just taking all of these cells right here. It's not taking any of this in. So we need to update this. We just did this to test everything. So we want to go within our positions or within the parentheses, hit back. And here's the cool part, guys. We're going to type in history and look at this. Here's everything. We want history security. See that? Isn't that cool how everything's here? So history security, comma, history action is next, comma, history quantity, comma, history price. And that will put in everything we need, which you can see here is security, action, quantity, price. If we hit enter, look at that. Now everything updates. This is exactly what I have. I'm going to click here and center everything. I'm going to go up to where I have this, go all the way over to J, hit merge. We can make this bigger if we want. So maybe 14. How about 18? 18 looks a little too big. 14 looks a little too small. We'll call it 16. That looks much better. We'll click over here. We'll bold it. We'll make sure this is bolded as well. And we'll make this one bigger. We'll make it to 11. All right, so now that we have our tickers, shares, and purchase, the next couple things are pretty easy. So we need price, change percent, change dollar. Or if you're in Europe and you want change euro, just make sure your conversion is different, whatever your currency format is. We want cost, we want value, gain percent, and then gain dollar. It's not limited to this. You could add more stuff if you want to see, I don't know, like the beta of it or whatever. You could add whatever you want, but this is all I want to see. We're going to get all of this. We're going to right click and delete everything. And then we're going to start with price. So it's going to be equals if is blank. Then we want A3, close that, comma, quotation, quotation. Whoops, we want double quotations, comma, Google Finance. I'm going to click on that. And we want to do A3 again. We're going to close that off, hit enter. It's loading. There is Apple's price. And then we're going to drag this all the way down. I'm going to drag it down to that. And what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to go down to 1,000, I will not own 1,000 stocks ever. I would just invest in an ETF at that point. I'll go down to 101, hit shift, hit that, right click, and then delete all of that. So there we go. I really only need that much. I wouldn't own 100 individual stocks either. I'd probably cap out at maybe, I don't know, with cryptocurrencies included, maybe I'll cap out at like 22. 20 stocks, couple of cryptos, that's it. But again, I'm not a financial advisor and my strategies are no better than yours. So you do what you want. So now the next is going to be change, and change is not going to be as easy as price. Price was the easy one. So change is going to be a little bit longer, but nothing is as bad as that dreaded code that we had to make in the very beginning. So this is what we're going to want. If error, open parentheses, if, open parentheses, is blank, open parentheses again, A4, well, A3, close parentheses, comma, quotation, quotation, comma, Google Finance, A4, so we want A4, not A4, A3, I don't know why I keep saying A4, comma, change PCT, close our quotations, close our parentheses, divide that by 100. Now we're not done here. I want to close that. We now want to hit comma. We're going to do Google Finance, A4 again, A3 again, close our parentheses, hit minus, open parentheses, index, and I'll explain why we're making this a lot more complicated than what it has to be. It's actually because of cryptocurrency. So if we want to add cryptocurrency, this is why we need the next couple of parts. So we got index, Google Finance, open quotation, currency, colon, open quotation, hit the ampersand or the end sign, which should be Shift or Command 7, A3, hit the end sign again, hit quotations twice, hit a comma, hit quotation again, throw price in there, close that quotation. What are we already on the, yeah, we're on the second line now. I could drag this down. So we're at price. Now let's see, after that, we're going to want to do comma, today, open and close parentheses. So now we're pulling today's price from the cryptocurrencies. We want to then subtract that by 1. So now we're pulling yesterday's price. Close that, hit comma, hit 2, hit comma, hit 2 again, because, well, I'll explain later. Close 1, 2, 3, divide that by index. So divide by index, Google Finance, currency again, colon, quotation, do we want 2 quotations? No, we just want 1 quotation. Hit end, A3, end. Now we want 2 quotations, comma, quotation, price, quotation, comma, today, -1, whoops, today, open, close, -1, comma, 2, comma, 2, close, 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 hit enter. There was a problem. We are missing something. Oh, I have too many. Hit enter. It's loading. Oh, we got an NA. Let's see what we are missing. All right, it looks like right here, I don't have an open parenthesis. So we want to open that, close that, then hit enter. There we go. Let's change this to a %. And then we can drag this all the way down. And it's loading. And it looks like everything's working but our cryptos. So I must have screwed up somewhere in here. Let's drop that down. We need a parenthesis right there at the index. And then we also need one right after the -1. Then if we hit enter, look at that. Now we got 6.28%. Drag that down. And we got 7.72%. Both Bitcoin and Ethereum had a crazy day today. But that is how you get your change percent for Bitcoin and Ethereum. And Google Finance, I mean, we could pull Google Finance by doing BTC, USD, or if you're in euros, BTC, EUR. It does suck that we're pretty limited with what cryptos we can do in Google Finance, but it is what it is. Let's move on to change. Oh, and what we want to do is kind of move this all the way up. So we're just taking this function, the proper one, and we're changing everything. Because if we drop down to here, you can see this, if we don't do that, like this is still missing the parenthesis. So we want to take the proper one that's working in case if we pick up other cryptos or if the cryptos move. And speaking of moving, one thing that you guys asked, how do we put this in alphabetical order? Well, that's a great question. If we click up here, we go up to here and we do SORT for sort, and then put this in parentheses, hit enter, it loads. Now look at that. Everything is in alphabetical order. All right, so let's move on to change dollar. This function is a lot easier than this one. So we're going to go over here and we'll go up here. We'll hit equals if error, open parentheses, if open is blank, open, not open, we already have an open, A3, close, comma, quotation, quotation, comma, Google Finance. For you guys thinking that I'm going way too fast, I'm sorry. I just know this video is going to be very long, so I'm trying to make it as time efficient as possible. You guys have the luxury of pausing whenever you want to make sure all of your functions are proper and running. Change, close, multiply, B4, not B4, B3, close, comma, Google Finance again. So we want Google Finance, A3, close, minus, index, Google Finance, quotation, currency, colon, quotation, and A3, and quotation, quotation, comma, quotation, price, close quotation, comma, today, open and close, -1, close quotation, comma, 2, comma, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's see if I have an error or not. It's loading. Boom. Looks like we have it. And if we drop this down, does everything work? It does. Look at that. We even got for, let's go to Bitcoin. As you can see, Bitcoin was 58,000 and it had a change of $3,758 in one day. So yeah, 6% sounds about right. You guys could check the math on that. But guys, the hard part is done for the portfolio positions. These next 4 are going to be very short and easy functions. So let me just go back to Bitcoin for the change percentage and explain what's going on here. So what's happening with the function, because you guys like to know kind of how these functions work. So it's saying, hey, if A5 is blank, leave it blank, but it's not. So then it's saying, okay, let's throw in this. Google Finance, A5, change percent divided by 100. Well, that's not going to work for Bitcoin because this only works for tickers and stocks. So it's going to spit out an error message. But it's saying, hey, if we have an error message, which we do, the comma means move on to this next one. And what's this next one? It's take Google Finance, take the price of Bitcoin currently, subtract it from yesterday's price. So that's why we do today -1. Then divide it by yesterday's price. That's how you get change percent. All change percent is today's price minus yesterday's price, and then divide that by yesterday's price. So that's what's kind of happening there. That's how it works. Let's move on to cost. Cost is very easy. It is going to be if is blank. So if is blank, A3, comma, quotation, quotation, comma, then what we want is C3 times B3. That's really all it is. We could close that, hit enter, hit yes. All cost is your purchase multiplied by your shares, which I think is pretty straightforward. Drop that down to 100. Let's go to value. Value is going to be very similar. So I'm actually going to copy this and then paste it here. And instead we want D. And then instead of C, we want B. Hit enter, hit OK. And then we could drag this down. And for value, again, pretty straightforward, D and B. B is shares, D is current price. That's our current value. So you can see Apple, it cost me $3,203, and now I have $4,724 in Apple. Gain, gain is going to be very similar to change in the sense of how I just explained it. It's going to be equals if is blank, A3, close, comma, quotation, quotation, comma, close. Then what we want is D3 minus C3, close, divided by C3, close, hit enter, hit that. We'll click on I, we'll make it a percent. There we go, there's all of my percentages. We'll drag this down. All right, and now the last one, which is probably one of the easiest ones, we're going to do equals if is blank. And yes, there is a shortcut. We don't have to do if is blank. We can do if A3 equals blank, then make it blank. That is a shortcut, but we're just going to keep everything if is blank, because it's easier to read it as a human that way. A3, comma, quotation, quotation, comma. Then we want H3 minus G3. Close that, hit enter, hit the check. That's gain. That's our dollar gain. How do you figure that out? You take what our value is and you subtract it from our cost, and this is our profit or loss. Drag that down, and now you may be wondering, why do we have so many decimal places? Well, that's because of the code. Remember in the code we wrote precision 5? So precision 5 is taking it 5 decimal places back. Now, if you're someone that's really into cryptocurrencies and you have a lot of maybe Bitcoin and Ethereum, you may have to go back even further than 5 decimal places. So if that's the case, go back to your script editor. I know I said we wouldn't have to go back to this, but this is just for your crypto guys. And if you want to clean this up, you can. You don't need these massive spaces in between. We just did that so it was easier to write the code, because then we'd get overwhelmed if everything was on top of each other. But you could clean it all up like this if you ever have to go back to it. Who knows, maybe in a year I'll come out with an even better video and we'll have to make some updates to the code. But there we go. Now everything looks a little bit cleaner. Everything's closer together. But right here, let precision equal 5. If you're doing cryptos, maybe you're more than 5 decimals back. Maybe you're 6 decimals back. Maybe you're 8. Whatever it might be, we'll say 8. Okay. And then if we hit save, it's not going to mess with anything. All that does is take the math and move it back 8 decimal places. So if we go, let's hit on everything. So you see that we just went, what are we, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We keep going decimal places back. And it looks like, Bitcoin and Ethereum, I'm pretty leveled out. But you could see, well, that's price. You can see right here, some of the shares that I have, like Intuit, I have 323.60492, big problem that people will have is when they're trying to sell a stock, they may come up with an error message, or it may still be on here, even though it'll say there's 0 shares. It may not actually be 0. It may be you have 0.00001 of a share, and that's going to pop up. So everything needs to be super precise when it comes to decimals. So keep that in mind. I'm going to shrink the decimals down to just 2, just so it looks clean right now. But guys, this is the portfolio section, or the positions tab. We're now done with this, so we could add in all of the nice colors. So to start, we will click on everything, right click. I'm going to go to conditional formatting. And then if it's not empty, we'll use our lovely black or dark gray. Hit OK. We could X out of that. We'll change all of our text to white, or even if you want an off-white. An off-white also looks pretty nice. Up here, I'm going to add a nice thick border like we had. Want to change the color to that, hit that, boom, there we go. So now what we're going to do is whether our change is positive or negative, I want to change the color. I'm just going to conditional formatting, hit add rule. What we want to do is that green that I have, not for our background. We want the background to stay black. We want green, and then if it is greater than or equal to 0, hit done. Move this above. Whoops. Just going to hit done. We want to move this above that. Look at that. Now all of that's green. So that's for everything that was in the green today. Let's go back into it. We'll bold it. Okay. Add another rule. And now we want less than. So if it is less than 0, we then want it red. What do I do? We don't want that red. We want that black as well. I don't know why I keep hitting that. There we go. We'll bold it. Hit done. Bring that above. And there we go. Now that's red. So now we could go here. And we want to do that also to the change dollar and then the gain and the gain dollar. We click here. Add another range. How easy is that? Let's just hit F. Click OK. And it adds it. Add another range. We'll go right there. Hit OK. Add one more range. We'll do J. Hit OK. Hit done. Then we want to jump back over to E, where we have the less than 0. Open this. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add these to all of these. So, whoops. Go back here. Add another range. F. Add another range. I. Add another range. J. Hit OK. Now all of that gets added. We could hit done. We could X out of that. The very last thing that we want to do, highlight all of this and make the text, is it that gray? No, that's too dark. Let's try again. Is it that one? And then go over to, where is it? Insert, not insert, view, grid lines, get rid of the grid lines. That's still a little too dark. Guess it's one more. It's probably this. There we go. Now it looks like that's completely gone. I just like how that looks. So this is all I want to focus on. You could zoom in if you want to as well, you know, so it could fit your screen, whatever it might be. But now our positions tab is done. So now we get to jump over, hit that little plus button. We're going to go to rename, and this is going to be named conversion. If I have any spelling mistakes, guys, forgive me for that. Awful speller, good investor. All right, investor. Anyway, let's go right over here. So A to E, we are going to merge that, and we're going to name this currency conversion. And then we're going to go from F to I, merge that, and we're going to leave that blank for now. But we are going to make sure that that is to the left and that this is all the way to the right. All right. Now, right here, we're going to have currency, tickers, shares, purchase, price, change, cost. I know this is looking very similar to what we had in the positions tab. Value, and then gain. Although now we're going to start to change some stuff up. So first we're going to start with currency. This is going to need a certain function. That function is going to be equals if error, open parentheses, is blank, if, so open parentheses, if, then another open parentheses, is blank, open parentheses, and we can jump over to positions, and we're just going to click positions A3. So it's positions, exclamation point A3. Guys, if it is not a different color than black, so if it's not like orange like mine or, you know, another color, as long as it's not black, then you're doing it right. If it's black, it means that you aren't actually grabbing onto the positions tab. Maybe you're forgetting the exclamation point. We're going to do comma, quotation, quotation, comma, if Google Finance, so we got Google Finance, then we want positions A3 again. So I'm going to go over there, positions A3, comma, we jump back to conversion. What we're going to want is currency. So currency, close quotations, close parentheses, equals. Now here's where it gets interesting. So a lot of stocks are going to be in sterling pounds, and for all of my British followers, sorry if I messed this up, but with the terminology, but I think all of your stocks are in British pounds, or at least Google Finance will show it in the sterling pounds, but it's not going to show it in your British pound. And a lot of you guys are keeping your currency in British pounds and not British pennies or sterling pennies. So here's what we have to do. We actually have to do some conversion ourselves. It's going to do GBX because that's what all the stocks are going to show up as, comma, GBP because that's the currency we actually want to use, comma, Google Finance. And it's weird. For some reason, Google Finance doesn't register GBX. It only registers GBP for the currency, but then the stocks come up as GBX. So we have to work around that. Positions. And for most of you guys, positions, exclamation point A3, or we could have just clicked on it. For all you guys who aren't British or aren't trading with British pounds, it really is not going to retain to you, so you're not going to know what I'm saying. But for everyone who is, this is the solution essentially. So we got A3, comma, currency, close, 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 comma. Then what we want is money sign F, money sign 1. So you see it's pulling from here, but we don't have anything in F1 yet. We got to put that in. So we're going to hit enter. It's going to be, there you go. We got USD. And we could drag this down. If we drag it down, you can start to see stuff will slowly start to fill. Drag it all the way down. Again, we could, same thing as positions tab. We don't need 1,000 cells, so we could delete most of these. I'm going to go to 100. Right click, go to delete. Good. Now these are blank because they are cryptos, so you got to keep that in mind. But that's going to be fixed in a second. So what we're going to fill in now is going to be right up here. So up here, we're going to do data validation. So we're going to click on this, and we're going to go list of range. And then where do we want it to pull from? We're going to drag this all the way down to 100 and hit OK. Hit save. This is where we're going to pull it from. So you can see there it is, right? And we could click USD or Euro. Where are we getting that? Well, because we have currencies that are all in either USD or the Euro. So we're going to pick USD, and it fills in our Bitcoin. You see that? So we got USD for Bitcoin. If we go to Euro, it'll switch our Bitcoin and Ethereum, or at least our cryptos, to Euros. So that solves that problem. You know what? We're going to unmerge. I'm going to delete all of these. So we don't need that to have data validation. So we're going to go to data validation, remove, just so this drop down's close here. And this is now pretty centered. So we could go to 1. We can make this bigger, maybe 14, maybe even bigger than 14. Yeah, we'll make it 18. Or maybe, I like 16. 16, good. We are on a good start this is going to be the easiest one. All we're going to do is hit equals jump over to positions, hit A3, hit enter. That's it. Probably the easiest function of the night or morning, depending on when you're watching this. We're going to scroll down. Boom. We're done. Shares is going to be just as easy. We're going to hit equals, jump over to positions. What we want is right there, B3, hit enter, drag this down. Now that one's filled. And now we get into the fun stuff. For this one, we're essentially going to write out a really long function in purchase, and then we could kind of copy and paste it into the rest that we need it for. So here we go. We're going to do if, open parentheses, A3 equals GBP, close quotation, comma, if, open parentheses, B3 equals, quotation, quotation, comma, quotation, quotation, comma, if again, so now we have 3 if statements, open parentheses, A3 equals, we want to do $F, $1, so that locks that in, comma, we're going to jump over to positions now, and we want to pull right here our purchase price, which is C3. So C3, comma, C3 multiplied by Google Finance. So we're going to get Google Finance, quotation, currency, colon, quotation, end, A3, end, quotation, quotation, end, $F, $1, end again, quotation, quotation, close, 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 divided by 100, comma, if, open parenthesis, B3 equals, quotation, quotation, comma, quotation, quotation, comma, if, open parentheses, A3 equals $F, $1, comma, positions, comma, positions, multiplied by Google Finance again, quotation, currency, colon, quotation, end, A3, end, quotation, quotation, end, $F, $1, end, quotation, quotation, close, 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 hit enter. Now you're probably thinking, what did we just write? Well, this is going to be converting everything. So we could drag this down, and I'll explain in a second. If we go back up, let's look at Volkswagen. It says it's 395 cents. And if we jump over to positions, Volkswagen, it says it's $290. So it's not dollars. This is currently in euros. That's at least how Google Finance is pulling. So it's pulling euros, which is 290 euros, and that converts to $300. So GBP, this is up here what I was explaining before. When we are over here, if we pull GBX and it's GBP, well then this is the second part of the equation that we need for it to actually work. So that's why this is so ridiculously long. A decent part of it has to be because of GBP. But now this is it. So whatever stocks you trade, doesn't matter what currency it is in, it should work. And the beauty of it all is as you add more currencies, so let's say, I don't know, IRN or INR is what it is. That's the Indian currency. We jump down here. Look at this. Now it's there. So now this will all convert to the Indian currency. So that's how that works. The reason why Bitcoin and Ethereum didn't change is because I still have it under BTC USD. If I was buying it under INR, that would have changed under my history. I wouldn't be buying it in USD. Instead, here's Bitcoin. I'd be buying it in BTC INR. And that's where it would actually update. But let's get rid of that. And we'll change this back to USD. Let me drop that down. Now, price is going to be easier, I promise. all we have to do is go to purchase, highlight all of this, hit Control C, go over to purchase, hit price, hit Control V, and most of this stays the same. All we have to do is change position C3 to D3. So D3, D3, then over here, D3, and D3. The rest could stay the same. We hit enter, and there we go. So I told you guys it would be a lot easier. We drop it down, boom. Price is done. Change. We're going to be doing the same thing. So we could Control V again, and instead of C, we want F. So F, F, F over here, and F over here. Essentially, all this code is doing, or all this function is doing, if you guys haven't noticed yet, is we are just taking the positions over here, and then with this nice little function we wrote, it's converting it into whatever currency you want it. Then we have cost. Cost is going to be pretty simple because now we're just going to be pulling from this. This is all the data we needed. Just going to hit equals if, open parentheses, is blank, B3, close, comma, quotation, quotation, comma, D3 multiplied by C3, close that off, hit enter, add one too many quotations, not quotations, parentheses. Let's get rid of that, hit enter, boom, there's the right answer. Let's then drag this all the way down, go back up. We're going to go over to value. Going to be another easy one. We're actually now just going to copy and paste this. So I'm going to copy this. We're going to go into value, hit Control V. We're changing this D to an E. Everything else could stay the same. Value is now done. We could drop this down. That is good. Last one is gain. We're going to hit Control V again, except now, well, Control V to paste. Now we're going to delete all that. We're going to do H3 minus G3, hit enter, and boom, that's all it is. So those last three codes were very simple. I mean, all of them were simple once you got purchase. So once you fit that in, then the rest of this is just easy stuff. We're going to go up here, and we are going to center it because I like everything centered. We're going to go to text. Well, not text. We're going to go to default, so everything changes. And you know what, yeah, we're going to go over here. We're going to hit 10. We just got to change everything. So 10. We can change this back to 16. Then we can drop down here, change this to 11. And then if you want to make everything look all nice and neat, we could reduce the decimals so it just shows 2. There we go. Guys, if you are not in the United States and you don't know how to change your currency, let's see, where is it? If you go down here, look at this. Here's the euro. Here's different like dollars. If you go to more formats, more currencies, it's right here. So let's say you were using, I don't know, the Chinese yuan or yen, however you say that. Hit apply. Look, there it is. So now it's there. So that's how you do all of that. I'm just going to go here, hit that. We don't want any $sign for shares. But now we could put in our currency. So that one is a currency. Want that to be currency. Change, obviously. Cost, value, and dollar gain. There we go. So now I have my proper currency. You guys can put your proper currency in. Just know when I change it to euro, it's not going to change the dollar to the euro, but this is all in euro. Just has the wrong symbol in front, the wrong currency symbol, but this is actually all in euros now. We're going to change it back to USD. This is now done. We could make this look pretty now. Here, I'm going to bring that to the right, bring this to the left, just so they're like touching. We could do the exact same thing where we highlight all of this, and we could go to some conditional formatting. If it's not blank, we add in our nice dark gray, hit OK. We could X out of that. We could also change these three to that dark gray as well. Let's go back to some conditional formatting. We could reopen this and we could change our text to that off-white. Hit OK. Now we could change. We could add in our colors. So let's go to change, right click, go to conditional formatting, add a rule, and we want this to be black, and then this text to be green. If it's greater than or equal to 0, hit done. Just bring this above that. Boom, we have that. And we could add another rule. If it's less than 0, then we want it to be our red. We can make that the gray. Hit done. Bring that up. We could click on this. Could click right here. We could add another range. We will add our gain to it. Hit OK. We can bold it. We could go, let's see, we hit done. Go back over to the F1. Click on this. Hit this. Add another range. Go to gain. Hit OK. Make that bold. Hit done. X out of that. The very last thing for this that I actually forgot, which I think is pretty cool. When we go up here where it says purchase, what we want to actually do, we're going to make this a function. We can go to equals, and then we want to put purchase in quotations. So equals purchase. And if we hit enter, that's it. It'll just stay as purchase, right? Which makes logical sense. But what we want to do is go in between the E and the quotation, hit space, hit open parenthesis, then hit quotation and F1 and close quotation. Well, go on the outside of the quotation, close the parenthesis, close quotation, hit enter. Now, let's make that a little bit bigger. Anytime we change this up here, it will update it here. So we can see, oh, okay, this is in USDs. Great. Well, let's go to Euro. Look at that. It changes that to Euro. So I think that's a pretty cool function to have. We can make all of them like this. So equals. So again, it's equals, quotation, space, close quotation, and F1, and open quotation, close parenthesis, close quotation, hit enter. There we go. I'm going to fast forward so you guys don't need to watch me do the same for all of these, but that's exactly what it is for every single one. So now the very last thing that we want to do with this, I'm going to bold this. I'm going to go from A to I. We're going to add a border. So we'll make sure we have white selected and we want it really thick. Do that. There we go. And I'm also going to add a border here. Just going to click on that. We're going to go to our borders again. I'm going to go down. And actually, instead of white, we want that off-white. And you'll see why in a second. So make sure that's selected. And then we can do that the same here with our border. Make sure it's the off-white, not the white. And the reason why is because I want to click up here now and I want to change this all to that off-white. Obviously change these back to the gray. And we could delete all of this, which is unnecessary. Unless you want to add more columns for here with more information. And lastly, we will go to view, turn off grid lines. We are done with that. We are about to move on to the dashboard, which is the coolest part in my opinion. But before that, we do have to go back to history and fill out our 2 tabs for conversion. All right, so the very first thing we're going to do on the conversion section of the history tab is hit equals, jump over to conversion. We want to click on our lovely F1, hit enter. That one is done. We then want to go over to total. This is going to be another easy one. It's going to be the equals, quotation, total, space, open parenthesis, quotation, and G2, and quotation, close parenthesis, quotation, hit enter. Those 2 are done. Now, I will warn you right now, these 2 are going to be a little lengthy, but I think we're used to that now. So this is what's going to be equals, if error, open parenthesis, if, open parenthesis, C3 equals crypto, and crypto is case sensitive. So we have a capital C. Essentially, it wants to match our action. So when we buy crypto, our action is case sensitive with a capital C. in action, so it has to match here. Then we want to do comma. Then we want to do $G, $2. Then we want to do comma, open parentheses, if, open parentheses, is blank, open parentheses, B3, close, comma, quotation, quotation, comma, if, open parentheses, B3 equals, then another one that's case sensitive, so cash, close parentheses, comma, $G, $2, comma, if Google Finance, B3, comma, open quotation, currency, quotation, close parentheses, equals, quotation, GBX, close quotation, GBX, close our quotation, comma, another quotation, GBP, comma, Google Finance again. We want to close our quotation, comma, Google Finance, parenthesis, B3, comma, currency, again, close. Then we want to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, dot, not dot, comma, conversion, exclamation point, $F, $1. Probably have conversion spelt wrong. Let's just jump over to conversion this way. Hit that so I have no spelling errors. Close that. And before we hit enter, we just want to go before the F, do $, and then before the $1. Then we get to enter. There we go. We got USD. We could drag this all the way down. And there we go. Everything should be in. Yep, look at that. Everything's in. You can see that is in euros, so it's right there. This is going to be the last one here. All right, this one's going to be another long one, but I know we could get it done. So it's going to be equals if G3 equals quotation GBP, close quotation, comma, if, open quotation, open parentheses, B3 equals quotation, quotation, comma, quotation, quotation, comma, if, parentheses, G3 equals $G, $2, comma, F3, comma, F3 again, multiplied by Google Finance, quotation, currency, colon, quotation, and G3, and quotation, quotation, and $G, $2, and quotation, quotation, close, 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 divided by 100, comma, if, open parentheses, A3 equals, quotation, quotation, comma, quotation, quotation, comma, if, open parentheses, G3 equals $G, $2, comma, F3, comma, F3, multiplied by Google Finance, parentheses, quotation, currency, colon, parentheses, not parentheses, quotation, and G3, and quotation, quotation, and $G, $2, and quotation, quotation, close, 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 hit enter. We have that. Let's drag this down. I'm going to stop right at our euro just to make sure it's right. Yep, we're looking good. We can keep on going all the way down to 1,000. All right, now we can drag it all the way back up. And we could throw on our lovely $. And there we go. Now that is all in our price We go to conversion, we change this over to euros. Then we go to history, look, now euro, and this is all in euros. So that is done. Guys, we could finally move on to the dashboard, hit that new sheet, bring the sheet to, I don't know, you guess the first one if you want. Right click, rename, dashboard. All right, before we even touch this, we're going to do what we did to history, where we go up on top of the cells, and we're just going to name all these. So this is going to be positions, tickers. So positions, tickers, hit enter. We're going to go over to B, name this one, positions, shares, hit enter. Then this one, positions, purchase, hit enter. And guys, just do it with every single one. So this should be positions price, positions, change percent, positions change dollar, positions cost, value, dollar gain. So I'm just going to fast forward through that so then it's all done and you don't have to watch me retype them all. So once you have all of the positions in, so you can see up here, I have every single cell or every single column or row has all of their positions in, right? So we got position price, position gain percent, gain dollar. I have all of that. We could jump back to the dashboard and we could start creating this. So for the first, let's see, these first two cells right here, well, first 4 cells, we could merge. We're going to type in welcome back. And then the next 4 cells, we're going to merge as well. You can write whatever you want. You can write your name. I'm going to write think stocks with an exclamation point. So that's good. And you know what? I actually want to merge down to the 3rd. So we're going to merge all 3 for all of these. Then I want the next 2 right here. We're going to merge this one. And then we're going to merge this right over here. And this is going to be easy. It's going to be equals, now, open and close parentheses, and it gives you today's date and time. It'll refresh every 5 minutes or so. And now this one, guys, this is going to be a pretty obnoxious code. This is actually to get market. This is where we're going to determine if the market is open or closed. So this one's pretty long. I think this is going to be the last. No, this is going to be the second to last really long code. So just bear with me, guys. It's going to be if, open parenthesis, or, open parenthesis, weekday, open parenthesis, A4, close, equals 1, comma, open parenthesis, weekday again, open, A4, close, and I just realized I have a couple of zeros here, and it means zeros. I mean a close parenthesis. So we got close. Oh, I wanted 2 close here. So guys, I messed up there. I hit zeros instead of parentheses. I meant to do parentheses. So close. This is going to be the same deal. Close equals 7, close, comma, in quotations, we want market space closed, close that, and then right before the or, we also want a parentheses. I forgot to add that. Sorry about that, guys. So now we're back to market closed equals. Now we're back to market closed. We want comma, then we want if, open parentheses, time, open parentheses, hour, open parentheses, now, open, close, comma, minute, open parentheses, now, open, close, comma, second, open, now, open, 1, 2, 3 for close is greater than time, open, 16-0-0, close. And now you may not be doing 16:0-0. This is when the market closes for me, 1600 hours, okay? So whenever the market closes for you, that's when you're going to be doing this. I did make another video that shows, depending on where you are in the world, which open and closes you're going to want. But this is technically going to be for market hours for the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ. Market close, comma, then we want if, open, time, open, hour, open, now, open, close, comma, minute, open, now, open, close, comma, second, open, now, open, 1, 2, 3 for close is greater than, time, now we're putting in when the market opens for at least the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ, which is 9, 30, 0, close, comma, then we want, in quotations, market, space, open, comma, close quotation, comma, open quotation, market, space, close, hit enter. There we go. The market is closed for me right now. Very obnoxious formula, but there it is, guys. Pause the video. Make sure it's right. Again, for 16, this is when your market is closed. This is when your market is open. So if you're not in the United States, if your market doesn't close at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for open, then you want to change that to whatever it is for you. But that's good. Now we can move on to the next couple of cells, which is going to be 6 and 7. We're going to merge those. I'm going to do day, return, and then we're going to merge all of these. And this is going to be an easy one. We're going to do equals, sum, open. Then we want to jump over to our conversion. Go to conversion, change, and we just want F. So conversion, change, exclamation point. Conversion, exclamation point, F, colon, F. Hit enter. There is my day change. I lost a nice $2,899, but that's okay. It'll bounce back. It always does. Then what we want here for 8 is I'm going to merge all of these. So I'm going to merge. Oops, I don't want 9 as well. I only want row 8. Just going to merge that. I'm going to name this portfolio balances. All right. And now we're going to take the first 2. We're going to merge that. We're actually going to merge 5 down. So 9, we're going to merge 10, 11, 12, 13. All right, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is going to be account value. This one is going to be positions. This one will be cash value. This one will be unrealized gains. This one will be realized gains. All right, and then we're going to jump over to here. And again, we're going to format all of this to make it look nice and pretty. I just want to get the data in first. So account values is going to be pretty easy. It's going to be equals positions, which is C10 for me, plus our cash value, which is going to be C11. We can hit enter. It's 0 because we have nothing in yet. But now for positions, again, a very easy one. We're going to do equals sum, open parentheses. We're going to go back to conversion, and it is going to be our value right here. So H, close, hit enter. So there we go. We got 87,000. And then we're going to go to cash value. This one's going to be a little annoying, but this is why we put everything in for our history with all of these things up here. we want this as well. So we're going to name this one history total convert, hit enter. Now that we have that, we could go back to our cash value. We're going to do equals sum if we want history action, comma, deposit, comma, history total convert. Close that, hit plus. Then we want sum if again. Now it's going to be history action again, comma, in quotations, cell, comma. Then we want history total convert. Then we want to do plus sum if history action again, comma, dividend, comma, history total convert. See, now that we named it, it just makes it so much easier and we can kind of understand what's going on here. So it's not just a bunch of random numbers. So let's see, history total convert. Now we're going to want plus another sum if history action, comma, interest, comma, history total convert, close, plus sum if history action, comma, adjustment. At least in TD Ameritrade, sometimes there's mini adjustments, so that's why I have that in there. Or maybe you may notice, hey, for whatever reason, your brokerage account is a little bit off from what you have on the Excel sheet, so that's why we have that adjustment one. History total convert, close that, and then we do subtract. Now, what do we want to subtract it out? We want to subtract out, well, sum if, history action, comma, buy. We want to subtract our buys. This is going to be our history total convert. Close that, minus sum if history action, withdrawal, if we withdraw any money, comma, history total convert, and that's it. So what we can see here is we're taking our deposit plus our sells plus our dividends plus our interest plus our adjustment, and we're subtracting our buys and withdrawals. We hit enter, and I have one too many parentheses. We're going to get rid of that. Hit enter. And I noticed one other error. I had an equals, not a minus. Again, sorry for that, guys. Trying to go as quickly as possible. But then there's the cash value, $7,491. Double check to make sure that those numbers add up for you, but this is what you want right here. So again, pause the video, make sure that this is all correct, and we can move on to the next step. So let's add a $ to that. And luckily, unrealized gains is going to be much easier. It's going to be equals sum, go to conversions, and we want conversion gain. So you're going to click on all of that, close that, hit enter. Boom, there's my gains. Nice $30,000 gain in the market so far. All right, guys, now we're going to move on to realized gains. This code is a little long, but we've had much worse so far. So it's going to be equals sum if, and we want to do history action, comma, sell, comma, history total convert, and then we want to do plus, we're going to do sum if again, not sum ifs, sum if. We don't want that in parentheses either, so we got sum if history action, comma, dividend, comma, history total convert, Then we want to subtract sum if history action, comma, by, comma, history total convert. Then we also want to subtract our drip. So minus sum if history action, comma, drip, comma, history total convert. Close that off. Then we want to add back, once we do all this, we want to add back our actual positions. So we want to do sum, and then we could go to our conversion. We want to add back all of our cost. So what we actually spent for, what we paid for. So we could close that off. We could hit enter, and there we go. There's my realized gains, negative $1,392. And now we're going to move on to one of the fun ones, and that is actually going to be our biggest gainer and biggest loser for the day. So this is a pretty cool function that I was able to figure out, and we're actually going to pull data to show, hey, out of all of our positions, which one, and you guys may realize that this looks different than maybe a couple of seconds ago, because it is a new day that I'm recording. That's why also now it says the day of return is 380. So it took me a couple of days to record this. But you could see here, let's see, what is our biggest gainer and what's our biggest loser? And it's going to pull that depending on our change. Now, I did catch one error that I have with our cryptos. I did forget one thing. All the way over here, we actually forgot to multiply it by the amount of shares that we have. And that's why it's saying I'm up $958 in Bitcoin today. I'm not. Bitcoin alone is up $958, but I do not have a full Bitcoin. I only have 0.05. So we got to factor that in. So right here, right before the last parenthesis, you want to do multiplied by, click on B5. If you're on the B5 one, hit enter. And there we go. I'm actually up only $47. So you want to actually change that for everything. So you want to drag this, drag the code so you can see, look, I updated it. It's right here. You can see this says B3. So we want to multiply it by that. So B3, B4, B5, B6, B7, B8, B9, B10, 11, 12. You can see it's not here. So we just got to drag that new code down. And that is purely for our cryptos. So now everything's up to date. But we could jump back to our biggest gainer and biggest loser. How are we going to find out which one is our biggest gainer, which it looks like is Ethereum, and our biggest loser looks like, is it PayPal? I think it's PayPal. Yeah. So here's how we're going to do it. We're going to go to this cell. So I'm in B14. We're going to do equals offset. And then what we're going to want to do is positions, exclamation point, A2. So we want to offset positions A2, comma, match, parentheses, max, parentheses, and then we could go into our positions, and we're going to want positions percent. So we could choose if we want to do percentage or if we want to do dollar. So I'm actually going to do percentage. I like seeing what has the biggest percentage drop, because with dollar change, it's a little skewed. If I have so much money in, say, PayPal, that's why this number is bigger, but it may not be my biggest mover for the day. So that's why I'm going to do percent change instead of dollar. But if you want to do dollar, go for that. So I want that, which is going to be E. We're going to close that off. We're going to hit comma. Then we want to click right there. So we have positions E3 colon E. The reason why we do that is because we don't want to factor in this or this. That will break the code. So we want to start with E3. But this right here, it's okay if we have the full range in. So once we do that, we want to do comma 0, close that parentheses, comma 0, comma 1. Do that, hit enter, and look at that. Now we have ETH/USD. So essentially what's happening here is it's saying, hey, out of this, which one has the biggest loser? It looks like it is, the biggest winner. Looks like it's ETH/USD, and then it's jumping over here and pulling that. That's how offset works. So now that we have that, we're going to go down to the biggest loser, and it's very simple. All we have to do is copy what we have here. So you hit Control-C, go down to biggest loser, Control-V, switch max to, you guessed it, min, hit enter, and Etsy is my biggest loser for the day. Now this code is not hard at all. We're just going to do equals max, and then we want positions percent change. So we're going to go back to positions, do positions percent change right there, hit enter, and we'll make that a percentage. And then what we could do is highlight this, drop it here, change our max to min, hit enter, and there you go. It's that easy to show which one is the biggest loser and the biggest winner for this row right here. And I don't know why I don't have percentage on, but there we go. So now that has percentage on. Do I have percentage on over here? No, I have no percents in there. So that's it. That's how you grab the biggest loser and biggest winner for each day. This one's easy because it's just pulling the actual min and max out of this row. The tricky one was getting which one it was, and that's how we had to use that offset. So we're essentially grabbing the same thing here, but then we need to offset it a couple. So just to review, it's saying, hey, here's our biggest winner right here. Now let's offset it into our A column. Oh, okay, we want to pull this cell. So that's how we're getting that. But now that we have that, this is pretty much all the hard information here. There's just a couple of things I want up here that I had. So we'll put that in, S&P 500. I want all the indexes. We have the Dow Jones. We have the NASDAQ, Russell, and then our volatility index, which I think is also very important to look at. And then right here, we need their tickers, which is .INX, .DJI, .IXIC. This one is just RUT, no dot. And then this one is VIX. And then all we have to do is equals Google Finance. Click up here, hit enter, loading, boom. There's the S&P 500. Whoops, we don't want to bring that down. What we want to do is now bring this over so we can pull all of that. All right, and then after that, what we're going to want to do is Google Finance again, and we're going to take E2, or E3, not E2. No, I'm sorry. We're going to want to take E2, do a comma, do change, so we can get the change percentage out of it, hit enter, it's loading, boom. There's our change. We'll drag that over. All of that's loading. And then the very last thing here, well, not the very last, the second to last, we're going to want to see our actual change in a percentage form. So we're just going to do E4 divided by E3, make that a percentage. So now we could grab all of that, drag it over. That now loads. And then the very last thing that I have in here, I want to see the spark line of everything. And to do that, I'm actually going to merge these two cells. So I'm going to merge the two cells here just so we could have a better spark line going. Merge those two, and these two. And now this is going to be equals spark line Google Finance E2 comma price comma today open and closed minus 364. We want to see the last 364 days comma up to today And we want 3 close parentheses, hit enter, it's loading, boom, there's our beautiful spark line. We'll bring that over to grab the other spark lines. Now we're getting somewhere. So at this point, all we're missing is the color and our charts. But first, I'm going to delete rows 25 all the way down to row 1000. So I'm going to hit delete. And I want to delete J all the way to Z. I don't want to see any of that. We'll delete that. And now we're going to start to color everything. Then we'll throw in our charts. And then we'll be good to go. That'll be it, guys. So for starters, I'm going to hit up here. We're going to change the text to that off-white that we like. We're going to change it to our nice dark theme. And right here, we're going to want our welcome back. It doesn't have to say welcome back. You can make it anything. We're going to make it, how about 28? So there we go. I'm going to bold this as well. And then for think stocks, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make it 28. But instead, I'm going to give it that nice orange that I have. Bold that. And I'm going to highlight both of these. I'm going to go over to vertical align, and I want it right in the center, like that. And now we could kind of bring this out a bit. So I'm going to bring the A and B column out. And then I'll bring the C and D column out a little bit as well, just so we could see all of that. Okay. Next, we're going to go down to these 2 columns. We'll make it 18. We'll bold that as well. We'll do the same thing where our vertical align is going to be in the middle. And now for market closed, what I'm going to want to do is go to conditional formatting. And we're going to make the background our dark gray. I'm going to make this red when the text is exactly market closed. We'll hit done. We're going to add a rule. Make that our dark gray. We're going to make this green. I'm going to change this to when text is exactly market open. Hit done. So there we go. When it says market close, it's going to be red. When it says market open, it's going to turn green. So now we're going to jump down to our day return, and we're going to do the same deal. We're going to highlight both of these. We're going to make it font size 18. We're going to bold that. We are going to not bring it in the center. I'm going to want to bring this one all the way to the right, this one all the way to the left, so it looks the same as these. And I'm going to do the same deal here with some conditional formatting. I'm going to change this. If it's greater than 0, I want it to be dark gray, and I want it to be green. Hit OK. We're going to add another rule. If it's not greater than, if it's less than 0, I'm going to make that our gray. I'm going to make this red. So there you go. We're going to hit done. All right. Now we're going to move on to portfolio balances. And one thing I noticed here is I actually don't want it going all the way to D. So I'm going to unmerge it, and then I'm going to remerge just to C. And then we will bold it. We will make it, how about 14? And we'll put it right in the center. So that looks good. And now for everything here, I'm going to want all of this. I'm going to highlight all of this. I'm going to want everything centered. And I like bolding everything. I think bolding everything makes it look nicer. I'm actually going to make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to make it size 11. Yeah, I like how that looks. And size 11 it just fills everything out. So now what I'm going to want to do is go down to my unrealized gains. Well, actually, I guess all of these right here. I'm going to want to do some conditional formatting with these rows and do the same thing with the greater than or less than. So we got greater than or equal to 0. I'm going to want it green. Hit done. Add a rule. If it is less than, 0, we are going to want that gray, and we're going to want this red. Hit done. And you know what? I'm going to take these 4 rows right here, and I'm not going to have it centered. I lied. I'm actually going to have it to the right, just so it kind of separates these two. So you can see, okay, these go in line with that, and then because this has this own thing right here, it just kind of makes it easier to see. Guys, we are almost done here. Thank God. What we have to do now is we'll put in the charts, and then we're going to add some borders. So the first chart that I'm going to want to do is going to be the balance breakdown. And this is a pretty easy chart. It's from my old tracker. I really like to see my cash value and my position value. I'm going to highlight these 4 cells right here. Positions, cash value, my positions, dollar amount, my cash dollar amount. We're going to go to Insert Chart. It's going to create a chart. We're going to want to change that to a pie chart. And from here, we're going to want to customize it. We'll start with legend. No, not legend. We'll go to right here. Title text. So I'm going to want to name it balance breakdown. So now it's up there, but I don't like the positioning of it. So I'm going to bold it. I'm going to change it to wide. And I am going to center that. And I want the text to be our off-white, because now we're going to change our background. So here's our background color. I'm going to change it to our lovely gray that we have. Border, I'm going to hit none. Or, you know what? No. With border, I'll do white, because that's what we're going to kind of make all of our borders to make everything look good. So once we have that, what else do I need to change? I need to change the cash value. We really can't see that. So if you double click on that, it'll just kind of open to where it is. So we could make that our off-white. I'm also going to make that wide because that's easier to see. And then you know what? I'm going to want to go back to balance breakdown and make this a little bit bigger. So let's see what 20 looks like. It's already at 20. 24, maybe it could be a little bit bigger. How about 30? 30 might actually be too big. So we'll jump to 24. I'm going to want to shrink this down. Move this in a little. Oh, but I want to see cash value. So maybe right about there. Oh, we could definitely make this probably smaller this way. This is where I want to fit this, right in here. So from 16 down to 24. Bring that out a little. That looks pretty good to me. Could mess around with the finer details later, but that looks good. Now what I want to do is create the portfolio performance. And that is going to be, we're going to want to go to the positions tab. All right, we're going to want to go to the conversion tab. And we're going to go to insert chart. So we're going to have a chart here. Obviously, this is a bunch of information that we don't want. So right here, we want tickers as our x-axis. We want cost, and then we're going to want value. So we could delete purchase. So remove, delete price. So we want cost and gain. So we're going to delete value. We're going to add a series. It's not here. So we'll click on this. And here's our gain. We'll just kind of click right there. Let's click OK. Boom. There is my gain. This is what I want to see. We want to change the title. We're going to change the title to Portfolio Performance. That is spelled very wrong. There we go. Portfolio Performance. We're going to do that right in the middle. I'll change it to wide. We're going to want to center that. And same deal, we're going to want to make the text our off-white. And then find our background. We're going to make it that dark gray. Look at that. That's looking good. We're going to make that our border white. We're going to want to change this color to the off-white. And again, I'm going to use wide. Right here, same deal, off-white, wide. Going to have to change all of this, just everything to off-white, just so we could actually see what's going on here. And now we can change the color of all of these. So I'm going to want this to be that orange that I keep using. And that's looking pretty good to me. I think that's everything that I want. I'm going to X out of that. What we're going to do is we're going to click on this, hit Control X, and then we're going to go to Dashboard and hit Control V, and boom, we pasted it right in there. We could delete it from here now, because now we have everything right here. Want to delete our tickers. There we go. We could X out of that. Now we could fit that right into here. Widen that a little. There we go. That fits perfectly into place. It's starting to look good. Now the very last thing that I have is actually I'm going to widen the A a little bit. So then this could be widened. So the very last thing before we add the borders is right here. All of these, I'm going to want to right click, do some conditional formatting. And what I'm going to want is, I'm actually going to do the background. I want the background to be green if the text is greater than or equal to 0. Hit done, add another rule, and then we're going to want it our red if it is less than 0. Hit done, we could X out of that. We will bold it and we will center it. All right, now guys, one last thing right over here. I want that red. I'm going to change it to orange as well, just so it matches with the other chart. All right, the very last thing we have now is just to add our borders. So I'm going to highlight all of this. We're going to go to border. I want to make sure the border is nice and thick like we've been using before. We're going to want that off-white. Hit that. Boom, there's that border. Portfolio balances is going to get its very own border. All right, and then we want to section this off right here. So this is going to get a border. This is going to get a border as well. We will add a border over here. Okay. And now we can kind of move this up. We're going to want this to have a border. All right, I'm actually going to move this right now just so I could add a border where this is going to go. All right, now let's move this back into place, resize it. Could move this back into place, bring it up a little, bring that over, and boom, guys, we are done. How long was that? I'm probably gonna guess this video ended up being 2 to 2.5 hours long, but guys, we are done. We have everything that we possibly need. Now what we have is the dashboard, history, positions, and conversion, just to show you that conversion works with everything. Let's go to EUR. That all changes. Our dashboard changes as well. You can see my account value is now only 90,000. Now watch, if we change it to USD, 94,000. So that seems about right because the euro is a little bit stronger than the dollar right now, price-wise. So that's all updated. The only thing that you have to change if you are not in America and you are dealing with euros or whatever currency, you just got to change all the currency. But besides that, we are getting the actual conversion rate. Again, if we jump over to history, and if I go and buy a stock that is in a different currency, like for example, let's say I go and buy into LONNG, we'll hit buy. We'll say, I don't know, I buy 100 shares of it at, I don't know what the current price is. I think it's around maybe, we'll say 900. This is 900 GBP. Well, actually, it's going to be 9. So you see right here, it says 9,000. It's in GBX. And now this shows that it converts over to GBP because for some reason we can't look at anything in GBX. We can only look at anything in GBP for Google Finance. Let this all load. There you go. There's everything in GBP. We'll change it back to USD. So there's everything in USD. Here's our LONNG. You can see the price updates for USD. And if we go over to dashboard, now it's in there. See that? And everything is dynamic. Everything that we possibly want to see is in here. Guys, again, thank you for sticking to the end. We now have an updated master portfolio tracker with everything that we need to possibly see in it for conversion with different currencies. We got Bitcoin, we got Ethereum, we got this sick new dashboard that could see the biggest loser and biggest gainer. You got your day return right up here. All of the major indexes up here. Guys, if you like this video, please smash that like button. Let's bring this algo to the moon. Bring this video to the moon so everyone can see it. Create an awesome portfolio tracker like this. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Oh, look at this. I want this centered. I want it all bold. There we go. That looks better. Guys, seriously, thank you for watching all of this. You guys all rock. I hope you like this video. And as always, guys, I will see you in the next one.